Welcome back tuning into today's video where we're going to do the North Atlantic Oscillation forecast for winter of 2014-2015 today, can you believe? We're going to have a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies that we've had in the Atlantic Ocean through this month, through May, and then we're going to come to a prediction about what those sea surface temperature anomalies could mean in terms of the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO, as we get through towards the winter. Now, I'm just going to go through a few points with this. The first point is to say this finally will make up no more than around 10% of the final winter 2014-2015 forecast from GasWeatherViz.com. You'll be seeing that and finding out what the forecast is from GasWeatherViz.com at the end of November and the start of December. I say this will make up no more than 10% of that final forecast, and I could sit on this information actually and not really do a lot with it until we get through towards the autumn, when I start doing the proper official sort of winter forecast from around September. I could do that, and indeed I did think about doing it actually this year, but I had a vote on the website that I ran for a couple of days, and it was a bit of a landslide really for people wanting to see the NAO forecast now as opposed to after the summer. I think it was something like 84% wanted to see this forecast, so bit of a landslide, and because of that it's the reason why you're seeing this today. I was contemplating and very seriously considering keeping this information until September. This information wouldn't change though, because the methodology with this is that we look at the sea surface temperature anomalies through May, and then we assume that those anomalies will start to upwell, to reoccur as we get through to the winter. And of course in the winter, that's when it's determining what the state of North Atlantic Oscillation will be, or at least it's helping to determine what the state of the North Atlantic Oscillation will be. So whilst I could sit on this information until the autumn, it wouldn't change anything. It would still be the same if I did it now or if I did it in September, because the methodology would remain the same. So perhaps it's just as well to get the information out there. But as long as everybody sort of realises that this is only a small part of a much bigger whole, it's one ingredient that goes into a very big cake, if you like, in the end. And there'll be many other things that we look at once we get through to September. So this is just a starting point really. We put this in the bag, and this is where we're going to be starting from as we get through to those proper winter forecasts and updates as we get through to September. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to mention the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at GasWeatherViz.com, and if you press play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GasWeatherViz.com. Thanks so much for doing that. The video ads really pay for the website. They allow me to sit here and talk to you via the website, so if you hit play and see what ad is about, it will allow me to sit here and talk to you via the website, because that's what's paying for GasWeatherViz.com in essence. Some very interesting ads, by the way, being run at the moment for interesting and important ads really for charity. A few charity ads appearing, and I've had a look at one or two of those. They are very interesting. There's one for homelessness. I think there's one for blind children. I've seen a couple more as well. So if you do see those charity ads, please check them out. They're very influential, important charities with very serious and important messages. Just to be serious, temporary. They are very sort of interesting and important ads. So I thought I'd just give you a quick heads up about those. If you see those ads for those charities, do check it out. Also, to say that the charts that you see for this video, you can find the links to websites that have all of these charts and all of this information on my links page, so you can be able to see all of this for yourself. And say, enjoy the video. The NAO forecast will be quite a long video, so if you can't watch it all in one sitting, don't worry, it'll be on the website indefinitely, and of course it'll become much more important, this actually, as we get through towards the autumn and we start to do the proper forecast in the autumn. This will be the starting point, so it'll be very important where we're starting off from once we get through to September. So obviously the video is going to be at the website at GasWeatherViz.com indefinitely. If you can't watch it all in one sitting, you can come back whenever you like and watch it and enjoy the video. I hope you find it interesting and informative. Now, I've got to just quickly go through what the North Atlantic Oscillation is, why it's important to our weather, and then look at some past years that produce forecast for positive and negative North Atlantic oscillations through winter. So if you understand it, or if you understand what the North Atlantic Oscillation is, if you understand the difference between a positive NAO and a negative NAO, and the reason it's important, and the kind of anomalies that we're looking for in the Atlantic, particularly to predict a negative North Atlantic Oscillation, you can probably skip on now and go through towards the last 5 minutes of the video, because I don't want to bore anybody that already knows the information, really. So if you know all about the NAO, see you towards the end of the video. If you don't know about it, then stick with the next few minutes as I run through some charts that are going to inform you about what the North Atlantic Oscillation is. So first of all, to say that the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, is an index that is essentially reflecting the weather. It's not driving anything. You can think of the Financial Times share index, for instance, as reflecting share prices, reflecting the market. The North Atlantic Oscillation is the same. The FTSE doesn't drive share prices, it reflects share prices. The North Atlantic Oscillation doesn't drive the weather, it is reflecting the state of the weather, or the state of the atmosphere. So when we've got a positive North Atlantic Oscillation, and this example from 1989 is a very good example. We've got high pressure sitting to the south of the country, ridging in from the Azores. We've got low pressure around Iceland and Greenland. We're bringing a strong westerly flow, locking in all the cold air to the north, and it's very mild, bringing up that Atlantic air. And so, of course, that's kind of the default setup, really, for the UK and for the North Atlantic, because of where we are in the world, because of the Gulf Stream and various other things I won't go into now. That's kind of the default setup. Westerliness is our prevailing wind direction. So that's what a positive NAO looks like, and of course when the weather or the atmosphere is in this state, the North Atlantic Oscillation is positive, but it's the weather that's driving that. As we go through to this example from 1947, the severely cold winter of 1947, this is a perfect example of a negative North Atlantic Oscillation. Everything is flipped around. So now, instead of low pressure up over Iceland and Greenland, we've got high pressure, big blocking area of high pressure coming out of the Arctic and into the northern latitudes. Instead of the high pressure from the Azores ridging in across southern Europe, we've got low pressure, and the result of that is that we're pulling down easterly or northerly winds across not just Brazil but the whole of Europe as well, and the cold air that on the first chart was bottled up to the north of the country is flooding down into the mid-latitudes. The North Atlantic Oscillation is obviously negative. With this it will be through the floor negative, but again it's the atmosphere and the weather that is driving the North Atlantic Oscillation being negative. It isn't the NAO itself that's driving the weather. So that's the difference between the positive NAO there and the negative NAO there. Of course, the negative NAO is what you're looking for if you want it cold in the winter months. Now, why are the sea surface temperature anomalies important for that? It's basically the tripole. If you get a tripole in the Atlantic, and I'll just explain what a tripole is. This example from May 2005 is a good example. We've got three distinct bands. We've got a warm band here going through the tropical Atlantic, so warm waters there. We've got a colder band through the central part of the Atlantic, stretched out from eastern parts of the United States into the central Atlantic. It's colder there. Excuse me. And then it's warmer again to the south of Greenland. So that's a classic tripole scenario of warm, cold and warm. And when you get that anomaly in the Atlantic Ocean, then the Atlantic is in a state that doesn't always guarantee it, but can allow a North Atlantic Oscillation to develop. A negative North Atlantic Oscillation develops, of course, by the blocking coming out of the Arctic and by low pressure running through the mid-latitudes. We look at May, by the way, because, well, it's UK Met Office idea, this. They did this a lot of years, but they stopped doing it now. You can't get this information from the UK Met Office, but because they had to give it up because of the barbecue summer fiasco, and then the winter 2009-2010, which was a cold winter, and they predicted it would be a mild winter. They stopped doing longer range forecasts, or they stopped making them public. I think they still do them privately and possibly give them to the government, but you can't sort of get this information publicly from UK Met Office. But this is a UK Met Office methodology, and I think the reason they use May, or they may still use May, is that basically it's the quietest month of the year across the North Atlantic Oscillation. Of course, in the UK we tend to get easterlies most frequently in May, and the Atlantic is at its quietest sort of state, and that allows the natural state of the Atlantic to be revealed, if you like. We've not got lots of low pressure churning up the water, the top water, so instead of that, because the Atlantic's quiet, you tend to get the Atlantic revealing its natural state, and its natural state is waxing and waning in any given year. And then the anomalies that you get in May tend to reoccur as you get through towards the latter part of the year and into winter. So that is the reason that we use May, although it's quite controversial, I have to say that. A lot of people don't really believe that May is reflective of what's going to happen later on in the year. The methodology, when the UK Met Office did it, I can't show you the stats, but I believe it had around a 2 in 3 chance of coming right, the forecast being right. So not a bad methodology, but certainly not perfect, but they know methodology in terms of forecasting, particularly long range forecasting, is perfect. So 2 out of 3 isn't bad, but it isn't perfect. So that's the sort of scenario in the Atlantic that we're looking for a negative North Atlantic Oscillation to be predicted for the coming winter. This from 2006, this is the 16th of May 2006, leads us to forecast a positive North Atlantic Oscillation winter. You can see that there is no tripole here. We've got a very warm Atlantic, but there aren't the 3 distinct bands. It's just a general mass of sort of warmish type water. Nothing particularly significant in terms of a tripole of warm, cold and warm band. But this example from 2010, from May 2010, is definitely a tripole. Look at this. We've got very warm anomalies through the tropical Atlantic. We've got these cold anomalies through the mid-Atlantic, and we've got very, very warm anomalies again in the North Atlantic to the south of Greenland. That's about as perfect a tripole as you can get, and if we had anything like that this year, it would definitely lead me to forecast a negative NAO for the coming winter. This is 2010, of course, preceding that ferociously cold December, and this tripole did persist through to the winter. So yeah, that's a negative North Atlantic Oscillation prediction, if there ever was one. And then finally, again, have a look at a positive excuse me, a positive North Atlantic Oscillation prediction. We have this from 2000, and again you see that they're interesting. Although the anomalies are through the Atlantic, there is no tripole here. There is no warm, cold, warm. Actually, what we've probably got is a little bit of cold, warm and cold, if anything, so that would lead you definitely to predict a positive NAO with that. So that's the difference between the North Atlantic Oscillation being positive and negative, and that's the difference between the sea surface temperature anomalies pointing to either of those states through the course of May. So let's go on and have a look at how the sea surface temperature anomalies have been playing out in the Atlantic this April, and then from that we will produce a forecast for the NAO for the coming winter. So we start off on the 1st of May. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly for the Atlantic on the 1st of May, and we haven't got a tripole. If anything, we've probably got a cold, warm and coolish sort of band through the Atlantic, coolish down in towards the tropical Atlantic. It is a little bit warm around here, around the southeastern coast of the United States, but it definitely isn't a tripole. So from that you would predict a positive North Atlantic Oscillation through the course of the coming winter. Let's have a look at the next chart. Takes us through to the 15th of May. See how things have they've not really changed. Actually, it's still this idea of cool waters up here, cool anomalies up here, warm through here, and then cooler again, or probably near normal actually, through the tropical Atlantic, but warmer than it is through the mid-Atlantic. So again, there's no signal there for a tripole. Remember, for the tripole, the negative North Atlantic Oscillation, we're looking for warm, cold, and warm, and there's no sign of that on that chart for the 15th of May. Going through to the final chart, which is the 29th of May. This is the last one of the month, and again, no tripole. We've got cool waters around here, warm waters just here, and again around here, and then cooler or near normal through the tropical Atlantic. So it's a very consistent signal there, and the forecast based on that has to be that if that continues, and it could well do through towards the winter, the forecast from that would have to be for a positive North Atlantic Oscillation. There's no sign of a tripole, there's no sign of a negative North Atlantic Oscillation for the coming winter. For a man, that's going to be bad news, of course, if you want a cold winter, because one of the mechanisms to get a cold winter in Europe, particularly, not so for the United States, but for Europe, one of the mechanisms is to get a negative NAO. Now, there's lots of caveats to throw in with this. I just want to draw your attention to 2009. Do you think this anomaly that we have in 2009 is similar to what we've got now? Just go quickly back to what we've got now. There's the anomaly the 29th of May 2014. There's the anomaly for the 18th of May 2009. I think that's pretty similar. It's not an exact match, but it is similar. And eventually, that led the UK Met Office to predict a mild winter, 2009-2010. Eventually, it all evolved into this anomaly as we get through towards the end of 2009. This is for the 17th of December 2009, and then we are hinting at getting a tripole going. Actually, we've got a warmer water there, cooler there, and it's warming to the south of Greenland. So again, this idea, go back to this chart from May 2009. This led the UK Met Office to predict a mild winter 2009-2010. It didn't happen. We had a cold winter 2009-2010 as the anomalies deviated from that and actually went towards a tripole. As I said at the start of the video, it's not a perfect methodology. This it has a 2 out of 3 success rate, but it's not perfect. There are many other things that are important to make up a winter forecast, and it's why this only makes up 10% of my final winter forecast, because there are many other things that I look at that are important. Have a look at these charts from Unices.com. This is the same anomaly that was just looking at with NOAA, but just looking at it in a slightly different way with different colours. Here's the anomaly in the Atlantic for 2014. This is actually 29th of May 2014. Go through to 2009. I think that's a pretty similar match. That is quite close, I think, between 2014 and 2009. So the upshot of that is that whilst I would, based on these sea surface temperature anomalies that we've had through this month, definitely not be predicting a negative North Atlantic Oscillation. I can't do that based on this methodology because there's no tripole. If anything, we're the reverse of the tripole. So the forecast, the NAO forecast, has to be for a positive North Atlantic Oscillation through the coming winter, 2014-2015. But we are close to 2009, and 2009 also has similarities. About El Nino was going on that year, so again there's a similarity to what's happening now. I think the general gist of the Atlantic is that being quite close to 2009 shows that things could evolve into a colder scenario than I would be putting across with just this North Atlantic Oscillation video. So I just want to leave you with the idea that whilst the forecast is definitely for a positive North Atlantic Oscillation this week, this year, it's by no means a done deal at all. And if you want a cold winter, don't be despondent. There are many other things that are important. Solar activity is important. ENSO state, PDO state, how quickly the snow cover builds up over Siberia, where it builds up, all very, very important to my forecast for the winter. And we won't know any of these things until we get through to September, October and November. So that's when the proper forecast will be starting for the winter. And of course, if you're watching this in the United States, and I know a lot of you do, particularly on YouTube, the North Atlantic Oscillation isn't as important for you anyway, because you can get cold winters. In fact, you've had one this last winter, 2013-2014. You get cold winters even when the North Atlantic Oscillation is positive, and it can happen by getting blocking setting up over Alaska. And that's very likely for you this winter with the El Nino. So if you're in the States, sort of disregard all of this anyway. I think you're going to probably have quite a cold winter, particularly in the east and central part of the States again this winter, because of what's going on in the Pacific with the El Nino. But for the Europeans, for the British, yeah, the North Atlantic Oscillation is important. So it's not a great starting point, but it's just a starting point. We're going to go away, we're going to enjoy the summer. Hopefully, if we get some good weather, we're going to enjoy the summer, and then we'll come back in September. This will be our starting point, but the Atlantic is probably in a setup for a positive NAO. It by no means guarantees a positive NAO, and from September we'll start looking at things properly to see how they're developing. So I hope that video interesting and informative. It's a positive North Atlantic Oscillation being predicted for winter of 2014-2015 on this methodology. By no means a done deal, just the starting point of where we'll be starting from in September. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.